Hello, I'm Charles Gould from Michigan State University Extension. In this video, we're going to talk about some risks associated with soil amendments, specifically the group of soil amendments that the Food Safety Modernization Act, or FSMA, calls biological soil amendments of animal origin. We'll discuss what you can do to reduce risks and which biological soil amendments of animal origin have the most risk to produce safety. Finally, we'll cover how to use and store these valuable soil amendments safely. So what is a biological soil amendment of animal origin anyway? First, let's define soil amendment. The FSMA produce rule defines soil amendments as any chemical, biological, or physical material intentionally added to the soil to improve the chemical or physical condition of soil in relation to plant growth or to improve water holding capacity. The term soil amendment also includes growing media that serve as the entire substrate during the growth of produce covered under the rule. Examples would include the substrate used to grow mushrooms and any soilless media, such as that used in some hydroponic operations. Within soil amendments, there are biological soil amendments, and FSMA defines these as any soil amendment containing biological materials. They also give some examples like manure, yard trimmings, sewage sludge, or food scraps. Within biological soil amendments, we have a narrower category that is biological soil amendments of animal origin. Of all the soil amendments that are biologically based, those that are made from animals fall into this category. The official definition in the Produce Safety Rule is a biological soil amendment which consists of whole or part of materials of animal origin, such as manure or non-fecal animal byproducts, including animal mortalities or table waste alone, or in combination. It also includes any amendments that contain biological components of animal origin that are not manure-based, such as blood meal, feather meal, and bone meal. It is important to note that any soil amendments that are derived from human waste in any form do not fit into this category of soil amendments, according to FSMA. We won't go into detail in this video, as our focus is on biological soil amendments of non-human animal origin. It is important to assess the potential produce safety risks of all types of soil amendments that are being used on the farm. But for the sake of this video, we will focus specifically on the risks associated with the biological soil amendments of animal origin. Additionally, while it is a good practice to do a risk assessment of soil amendments for all crops, the FSMA Produce Safety Rule requirements only apply to produce covered under this rule. To assess potential produce safety risks, you should consider what types of soil amendments are being used, how you are going to apply them, as well as your farm's equipment sanitation and worker hygiene practices. Soil amendments of animal origin fall into three basic categories: non-manure-based amendments, treated manure-based amendments, and untreated manure-based amendments. Amendments containing manure are a higher risk to produce safety because manure carries and can potentially spread microbes to produce, such as Salmonella or E. coli, that make people very sick. We'll cover the general categories starting from the lowest to the highest risk. Non-manure-based amendments that have been treated to eliminate pathogens. Examples of this would be commercially produced bone meal, feather meal, blood meal, and fish emulsion. The suppliers of these products must provide you a certificate of conformance to verify that their treatment process meets FSMA processing requirement. For these types of low-risk amendments, the most important consideration is avoiding cross-contamination from other higher-risk soil amendments, so storage and handling is key. If your supplier is unable to provide you with a certificate of conformance, those amendments need to be handled the same way as untreated manure-based amendments. Next, we have manure-based amendments that have been treated to eliminate pathogens. Examples of this would be properly made compost containing animal manure or compost, or agricultural tea made from properly composted manure. As a side note, FDA's assumption when writing the rule was that all agricultural teas would be applied to the soil. so those doing foliar applications will need to treat it like a pesticide application. It's important to know how FSMA defines treatment in order to determine whether a manure-based soil amendment has been properly treated or not. Watch the video entitled Safe and Successful Composting under FSMA to learn about FSMA's produce safety rule standards for composting. Last but not least, untreated manure or manure-based amendments, sometimes also known as raw manure, pose the highest safety risk to your produce. Under the produce safety rule, this category of biological soil amendment of animal origin includes products that have not been properly treated and as a result might contain harmful pathogens. Bottom line, FSMA recognizes the value of raw manure and does not discourage growers from applying raw manure in their fields. However, growers must have a proper management plan to mitigate its produce safety risk. Now let's talk about some practical ways to minimize risk to produce safety from biological soil amendments of animal origin. Although not required by the produce safety rule, it can be very helpful to put together a written produce safety management plan and standardized procedures for managing soil amendment risks. Refer to the next video for more details on written documentation such as standard operating practices, corrective action plans, and food safety plans. First, before applying soil amendments to your field, you need to consider how soon you will be harvesting the crop. The closer to harvest that soil amendments are applied, the higher the risk of contaminating the crop. Let's listen to one farmer's timing strategy.
Essentially, if it's a problem, we'll just treat it as a raw product and do fall application. If there's any question on any of the piles that we have, we just do fall application, which allows us to have, at least currently, the timeline that we need for raw materials.
Second, think about how the amendment will be applied. Will it be incorporated or injected into the soil, or are you going to apply them on the surface? Surface application means it's more likely to contact the part of the plant that will be harvested and eaten. If your plan is to side dress the crop, do not use raw manure. Untreated biological soil amendments of animal origin must not be applied in a manner that directly contacts the portion of the crop that you will harvest, and must be applied in a manner that minimizes the potential for contact with covered produce after application. Third, think about how the environment and weather might become an issue. Is it a windy day? Has it rained a lot recently? Is heavy rain predicted? Is the ground frozen or soaked? Will it be too windy that it could cause movement of the amendment to unintended areas? Fourth, are you using high-risk soil amendments or low-risk soil amendments? Has the amendment been treated in accordance with FSMA produce rule regulations? Can your supplier provide a certificate of compliance to verify the product has been treated according to FSMA regulations? If you are making compost on site, are you following the requirements outlined in the rule? For compost, the rule requires for a designated period of time, 3 days, at a designated temperature, a minimum of 131 degrees Fahrenheit, followed by a curing stage under cooler conditions. Watch the video entitled Safe and Successful Composting under FSMA for more specific information on composting. Fifth, always wash hands after handling soil amendments. Make sure clothes, boots, and gloves are clean before handling produce. Or better yet, can you designate separate gloves, boots, and/or clothing for soil amendment handling? Think about how people might move around the farm. Will they have to walk through growing or packing areas while moving and handling soil amendments? Can you designate separate equipment and tools to be used only for soil amendments? If designating separate equipment is not possible, a cleaning and sanitizing schedule is a great option. From a food safety issue, making sure that there's not contamination from manure into the composting process into the finished compost is very important. And so what this composting operation does is this bucket is used only for loading compost onto trucks. And they have another bucket that is used for loading and unloading manure. So they don't have water here. They don't have the means to sanitize. So the method that they've chosen is to have separate buckets to load and unload compost and manure. Finally, if you have a manure or compost pile, how far is it located from your fields and packing areas? Think about the lay of the land and try to site these piles in a way that avoids potential runoff into fields or water sources. A good rule of thumb is to make sure to separate raw manure from finished compost to avoid cross-contamination. In review, here are some key factors to consider in reducing the risk to produce safety when applying biological soil amendments of animal origin. Taking time to assess your farm operations and then developing a management plan to minimize risks is a good practice and will help you comply with the FSMA produce safety rule. Soil amendments add immense value to your farm, and a little bit of planning goes a long way to protect your produce and your customers.